Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating science behind why you feel so emotionally drained. We're going to start deep inside your brain's architecture and then zoom all the way out to your daily social interactions. Basically, we're tracing the path from your invisible internal wounds to that very real, very physical exhaustion you feel at the end of the day.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever left a simple conversation feeling completely and utterly wiped out? I mean, like you just ran a mental marathon, even though all you actually did was sit there and listen to someone talk. We all know that heavy, depleted feeling. But here's the thing, it's not just in your head. Well, actually, scratch that. It is in your head, but in a very biological, scientifically proven way. To really understand why we get so drained, we have to look at the internal root of the issue. You see, the brain doesn't store emotional pain the same way it stores your standard everyday memories. When you remember, say, what you had for breakfast yesterday, it's just raw data. But when you recall an emotional trauma, your brain treats it as an active, ongoing threat.
Here is the roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll cover why emotional pain lasts, and then the brain's survival mechanism. After that, we'll shift outward to the science of emotional contagion, spotting the emotional vampires, and finally, healing and protecting your energy.
Section 1. Why emotional pain lasts. The mystery of lingering wounds.
We really have to acknowledge right off the bat that some emotional injuries just seem absolutely impossible to forget. Factual memories are kind of like organized files in a cabinet, right? You pull them out, you review the facts, and you put them neatly away. Emotional memory, on the other hand, doesn't just recall an event, it vividly recreates the feeling. It literally tricks your brain into thinking the trauma is happening all over again, right now.
Section 2. The brain's survival mechanism. Anatomy of emotional pain.
Okay, so let's break down the biological hardware that's working behind the scenes to keep your pain alive. It's basically a three-part system. First up is the amygdala. Think of this as your brain's hyperactive alarm system. It is constantly scanning your environment for threats. Then, the hippocampus jumps in. That's your contextual hard drive, storing the exact details of how you were hurt in the past. And finally, cortisol, the stress hormone, floods your system. Together, they are actively firing off alarms to make sure you don't get hurt the same way twice. It's a survival tactic.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Because this survival mechanism is constantly running in the background, trying to manage that internal trauma. It consumes massive amounts of your brain's energy. Think of it like a smartphone with way too many heavy apps running in the background all at once. Your overall emotional battery is left severely depleted, which makes you incredibly vulnerable to what happens next.
Which brings us to Section 3, the science of emotional contagion, when external forces draining.
Let's talk about emotional contagion. This is the official psychological phenomenon of absorbing and mirroring the emotions of those around you. It's essentially secondhand stress. You aren't just politely listening to someone vent about their bad day, your brain is actively mirroring their stress response. You are literally catching the emotional states of the people around you, much like catching a cold. And when you're walking around with a battery that's already low from your own internal processing, this external absorption hits you twice as hard.
Section 4. Spotting the emotional vampires. Identifying the threats.
So, if we subconsciously absorb external emotions, we really need to know who to watch out for. We've got negative personalities, often called emotional vampires. You know the ones, the chronic complainers, the intense critics, the perpetually dramatic folks. And the impact they have on you is huge. Because of your brain's natural mirroring response, their toxic dynamics literally force your amygdala to stay on high alert. Your cortisol spikes just by being in their presence. They completely wipe out whatever mental reserves you had left.
Section 5. Healing and protecting your energy. Reclaiming your brain.
Now, we've spent the first half of this explainer identifying the problem, that our brains are biologically wired to hold on to pain for survival, and that other people can drain us. But modern neuroscience poses a really profound, hopeful question. Can emotional memories be rewritten? The answer is yes, and here is your step-by-step process to do it. Step 1 is healing through neuroplasticity. Your brain is not hardwired like a rigid computer circuit board, it's highly moldable. By intentionally forming new, positive associations, you can actually rewire how your hippocampus and amygdala respond to old trauma. It's amazing. Step 2 requires setting firm external boundaries against those emotional vampires we just talked about. You have to stop the contagion at the source. And Step 3 is building healthy bonds. You want to replace those toxic interactions with people whose emotional states actually recharge your battery rather than drain it.
So, I want to leave you with this thought.
If your brain is biologically wired to hold on to pain for survival, how will you actively teach it to protect your peace today? Understanding the science of your emotional energy is a fantastic first step, but applying neuroplasticity and setting strict boundaries, that's the daily work. Take a really hard look at where your energy is going and start reclaiming it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to start putting these protective boundaries into practice right now. Catch you next time.